Welcome to Sodanonymous. I'm your host, Sodanonymous. Today's episode, I'm going over the Coca-Cola Origins line. So this is the Coca-Cola Origins line. I'm going to kind of explain the philosophy behind it. You might not have even known that these are called Coca-Cola Origins. I didn't know until sort of researching about it. But basically, the Coca-Cola Origins line is two flavors, and they were created in response to the overwhelming success of Mexican Coca-Cola. Now, if you don't know, Mexican Coca-Cola is sweetened by cane sugar, so it's real sugar. Coca-Cola made in the United States is sweetened with high fructose corn syrup. Now, it's been that way since the mid-'80s, around there, and it has a distinctly different flavor. And some people, are sort of up in arms about the cultural significance of this drink. So the way Coca-Cola used to be was made with cane sugar before the '80s, and to them, this is that actual authentic Coke. And then a lot of people will say, oh, it tastes a lot better. I've tried it on the channel before. If you want my full thoughts on that, I'll have the Mexican Coke review in the description below. The basic summary is, while I prefer the bite of the high fructose corn syrup version that we have in the United States, this sugar-sweetened version has its own appeal. It has its own place. It's definitely a brighter soda. It has a little bit more of like a wow factor in terms of the sweetness. It's a little bit less bitey, and I prefer the bite in my Coke, which is the only reason why this ranks slightly lower. But for me, regular Coke is a 10. This is a 9.5. I think it's delicious. If you haven't had Mexican Coke, you should give it a shot. But anyway, because Mexican Coke has caught on so well and there's so many people that are singing its praises, it's gotten to the point where Coke considered it a smart idea to sort of expand the line into their American-made counterparts. Instead of, and I'm not quite sure why they're doing this, I'm going to kind of speculate here. Why Mexican Coke continues to be imported from Mexico and is not just made here. My guess is there's some sort of money saving with producing it in Mexico rather than producing it here. There is one time of year where the Coca-Cola company actually does produce real sugar Coke in the United States, and that's for the holiday of Passover, because high fructose corn syrup is not kosher at that time. They have to produce specially marked containers of Coke with real sugar that are kosher approved, and that comes out in early April with like a yellow cap on the top of the 2 liters, and that's really good. But besides that, the only real sugar normal variant Cokes come from Mexico that you can get in the United States. But these flavors are made here, and the 2 flavors that they chose are Georgia Peach and California Raspberry. Both are pretty reasonable flavors to mix with Coke, so that's exciting. I do think that it is kind of weird. I would associate peach with Georgia, like Georgia peaches is kind of a thing. But California Raspberry, I don't really put the 2 and 2 together. I could see like California Avocado. I wouldn't put that in the soda, but I could see that. But California Raspberry, it's not something that quite makes sense to me. But regardless, I'm excited for both of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one at a time. I'm also going to compare it to the Mexican Coke. Because these have cane sugar, I think it's the most reasonable comparison. And we're going to see if it's better or worse than regular Mexican Coke, how it compares. And yeah, it should be fun. So let's get started with the first one. I'm going to try Georgia Peach. Now I should say right off the bat, when these first came out last year, I tried this. So I've had it before. I'm not going to spoil my opinions on it, but I will elaborate in the review. But I've had maybe like 2 or 3 of these before. So this is not going to be a blind tasting. I've never had the California raspberry, so that's going to be the first time tasting. I don't even know what it smells like. I've never tried it, so that's going to be fun. But first is the Georgia peach, and I really like peaches. I like peach flavors. I like peach gummies. So both artificial and natural peach is a win for me. I think I do prefer a more natural peach. But artificial peach is pretty good. I've had peach soda as well. The peach nehi, I think it's called. That's pretty good. But anyway, yeah, this is Coca-Cola with peach. I think it's a good idea. I think it makes sense. So let's crack it open and go for a smell here. First, I'm going to open the Mexican Coke. This is sort of the baseline. It's going to have the real sugar, so I think it's going to be the most appropriate comparison. All right, let's give it a smell here. Yep, that's Coke. Yeah, so it's the standard Coke smell, which is the dark, syrupy sort of smell, notes of caramel with sort of a lemony hint, and the Mexican version has a little bit of an extra kick in the sweetness, so it's a little bit sweeter, but it smells very, very pleasant, very good. All right, now time for Georgia peach. Oh, another thing, if I can allow myself to get sidetracked here, I'm pretty sure these are the exact same bottles. I know that they're the exact same size, so I kind of want to do a little bit of a comparison here, just to give it a look. Now, no? So, it's only a very slight difference, but there are these little divots on the side of Coke bottles, and the Mexican Coke is a little bit less defined. It's a little bit less dug in. So it's a little bit more subtle of a divot. And then along the side of the American-made bottles, they're definitely more defined. They're really stamped in there. There's also another slight difference. It's just barely, but the lip looks to me like it's a little different. The American version is a little bit more rounded at the top lip, and the Mexican version is a little bit more splayed out. So the American version is round, and then the Mexican version is a little bit more like splayed out like that. It's very subtle. They're both the same size. They're both 355 milliliters. So yeah, that's the container. I just thought it was worthy of mention. But anyway, back to the task at hand. Okay. Whew. It's a strong peach flavor. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, it smells exactly like a peach ring. Exactly. So you're not really going to get natural peach here, which is what I would prefer on paper. But I do really like sort of the artificial peach as well. And if you like peach rings, this is a nice smell. And it's not even like a little bit like peach ring. It smells like you have peach ring right in front of your nose. So it's the same flavor. It's pretty strong. It's not extremely strong. I would say it's stronger than most of the Diet Coke variants that I've had, the flavor variants, but not quite as strong as, say, the smell of Coca-Cola vanilla or Coca-Cola cherry. So it's a little bit less strong than that. And you could pick up a little bit of that dark Coke base underneath the peach ring smell. But anyway, that's enough rambling. Let's give it a try here. So first, I'm going to try the Mexican Coke. I'm going to wash my mouth out with water, and then I'm going to have the Georgia Peach. So let's take a sip here. It's always really good. Even though it's not my preference, it's fun to cycle this into the rotation every once in a while because it's just a slight spin on Coke. And Coke's one of my favorite sodas. It's one of my 10s. So even though I like this slightly less and I would not choose it as my regular Coke over regular Coke, it's a fun little twist. It's a little bright. It's fun. This is good. All right. Georgia Peach going down. It's very well carbonated, as expected. I would say it's about the same level of carbonation with the Mexican Coke. Let's see. The Mexican Coke expires in September of 2019, and the American one expires in October of 2019. So they're both pretty close in terms of freshness, especially for glass. It's going to be negligible, and they're both about the same level of carbonation. High levels of carbonation, very nice. Honestly, no, I'm going to retract that statement. It's about the same level of bite. It lends credence to my theory that high fructose corn syrup, for whatever reason, adds to the bite inside of a Coke. I don't know if it's more acidic or whatever it does, but these sugar sweetened ones just don't give you that same Coke bite. It's there. It's definitely way more than a Pepsi, but it's not as intense as regular Coke. Now, beyond that, the flavor is very pleasant. As I said before, it smells like a peach ring, tastes exactly like a peach ring. It's a strong flavor. I wouldn't say it's an overall strong flavor, so it doesn't like blow my face off like vanilla Coke does. You know, I like vanilla Coke. It's a really strong flavor and super sweet. It's sweet, but I mean that the peach flavor is a strong flavor in the Coke, so it kind of overpowers the Coke in a way. Like, I would more describe this as a peach soda rather than a Coca-Cola product with extra flavor. But yeah, it's really good. It tastes like those peach rings, like I said, gummy peaches. It tastes very similar to peach nehi. The only difference is because it's got Coke in it, it's a little bit darker, like a little bit of a richer taste underneath. But the sweetness and the flavor is about equivalent. Yeah, it's good. I don't think it's amazing, right? So I wouldn't drink this regularly. I drink it occasionally, as I have. This has been around for a year, and I've had it maybe 3 times since. I like it. I don't love it. I think I'd get sick of this if I drank a whole bunch at once. I could definitely not make this a primary soda like I could with Cherry Coke, Vanilla Coke, even the new diet lines with like the ginger lime or the blueberry acai. Like, this is an occasional drink. It is enjoyable though. Yeah, the predominant flavor is definitely the peach, and then you get a little bit of the Coke spice riding along, but not much. And then the aftertaste is definitely strong peach. Peach lingers in your mouth. So it's mostly peach. It's a darker peach flavor. It's good. In terms of a rating, that's a 7. It's respectable. It's nice. If you like peach ring flavor, if you like peach soda, if you want to try something a little different with Coke, this is good. This is good enough to recommend. Just don't buy a whole bunch of it. Try one first. Try a 4-pack, whatever you got to do. This is good. I brought out the Mexican Coke for comparison, but there really isn't a comparison because you can't really get much of the Coke flavor. So it kind of stands on its own. But yeah, that's a 7 out of 10, and that's all I got to say about it. So let's move on to the next one. All right, so Coca-Cola California Raspberry. I'm really excited about this. Like I said before, this is going to be a blind tasting. But real quick, just before I pop it open, I have a little bit of history with Coca-Cola Raspberry. I used to work at a place where I had access to a lot of flavor shots that people would ask for in their drinks. I'm being intentionally vague here. And one thing that I would do regularly is purchase Coke that they had for sale there on my break, and I would experiment. I would try to put different flavors in there to try to find something good. And my two favorites, number 2 was coconut, actually, which sounds really weird, but it's actually good. And number 1, by far, was raspberry Coke. So I hope this is able to do it justice. I really liked my raspberry Cokes back then. I still go there occasionally because they know me there, and I ask for a good old raspberry Coke because that's one of my favorite combos. So I really hope they do it well. Typically the way I drank it was Coke with a hint of raspberry. Because of Coke's philosophy towards flavored variants, I have a feeling that this is going to be more of a raspberry soda with a hint of Coke. But we're going to see how that goes. And yeah, that's all I got to say up to the lead up. So without further ado, let's pop this guy open. California Raspberry. All right. Ooh, I like that smell. That makes me excited. Okay. Okay. Yeah. It's a strong raspberry. It's kind of a natural raspberry, which I like. I was afraid it could be like a blue raspberry kind of taste. That's not what the color would suggest, but you're never quite sure. This is, and I like blue raspberry, but I didn't really want a blue raspberry Coke. I wanted a regular raspberry Coke. Yeah, it's a strong raspberry scent. I'm not getting much else other than that. So without further ado, let me drink some water here. Let's have a sip. California raspberry, going down. Excited. Okay. That's really good. That is really, really good. It is very similar to the homemade concoction that I like to make for myself. I'd say the raspberry is a little bit stronger, but I'm not necessarily against that. This is good. As I said before, it's more of like a regular raspberry, not a blue raspberry. It's still distinctly like a candy sort of raspberry flavor. It's not like literally eating a raspberry. But I think people would probably like this flavor better than if they actually made it taste like natural raspberries. This is very good. I'm going to compare it to Mexican Coke here. I don't know if it's much of an apt comparison because, once again, there's not much Coke in here, but let's give it a shot. Okay. Yeah. There's certainly more Coke in this one than the peach one. I can pick it out. It's interesting because the Coke itself was not at odds with the peach. It sort of brought it down to a deeper, like dark sweet. It worked synergistically with the peach. With this, it's like the dark taste of the Coke and the bright taste of the raspberry kind of conflict, but in a good way. I think it makes both of them stand out better. So it's not just like one weird, like peachy flavor. And I like the peach, but this is better. It's less of a strong flavor than the peach overall. So it's somewhere in line with those diet variants where it's not like exceptionally strong. But I think that's a positive. If it was any stronger than this, it would start to become like a blue Fanta, like overpowering too much. This is good. High levels of carbonation, as expected, in this container and this freshness. Yeah, you get a little bit more of that Coke spice. You get that dark flavor, but like I said, they're a little bit separated, like oil and water together. But it makes for a good mix. I really enjoy this. I can definitely recommend this. If I have to recommend either one, this one's better by a lot. Let's get a rating here. Yeah, I really like this. I'm gonna give that a 9. That is really, really good. So I tend to not drink Mexican Coke very regularly. As I said before, I might do it once or twice a month. And it's good. I just prefer the bite for my normal Coke flavor. So I tend to drink the high fructose corn syrup version. This may get me buying a cane sugar Coke regularly. This is very good. I like it. So next time you have a chance, give this one a try. It's really good. So that's it. That's the Coca-Cola Origins line. I think it's really cool that the Coca-Cola company are sort of reaching out to the enthusiasts in the Coke community, the ones who rallied behind Mexican Coke and got it to be as popular as it is now. I hope that this line can sort of continue, if not in the exact same way, at least spiritually. I want more Coca-Cola in big glass bottles. I want more flavored variants of regular Coke. Even though I prefer high fructose corn syrup, I'd love for sugar Cokes to be made more readily available because there are plenty of people who prefer those, and I enjoy throwing them in there. The only thing that I wish the Coca-Cola company would do is sort of cut off their ties with Mexican Coke itself. And the only reason I say that is as I explained before, there is one time a year where we make real sugar Coke in America, kosher Coke, and that stuff I believe addresses much of the problems that I have with Mexican Coke. I think it's stronger. I think it has more of a bite. I think it's more enjoyable. And I think if you sold that to the public, I think even non-soda heads, normal people, will get really excited about that. But anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts on this line. It was enjoyable. Go ahead and get yourself the California raspberry if you can find it. Peach too, if you like peach flavored stuff. It's good. It's not bad. It's a 7. But I really would push the raspberry flavor, especially if you have any inclination towards raspberry. But anyway, have you tried these? Do you prefer your Coke sweetened with sugar, or do you like high fructose corn syrup better? You're a weirdo like me. Let me know down in the comments below. And yeah, that about wraps this up. So yeah, this is Sodanonymous signing off, and I hope I see you next time.